RV problems at Pocono's doubleheader, June 25th through June 27th, 2021. The gates opened up at 12 on Thursday. We arrived and got into the camping area off the third turn there in the red. Okay, the problems that we encountered were I found out that the converter charger was not properly charging our house batteries. And this just happens to be a 31C Winnebago, so the batteries are in the steps. So I have two Group 27 deep cycle marine batteries. And I had installed an inverter under the sink so I can power the white receptacle for making coffee, and I also ran a Romex to the back of the refrigerator to power the refrigerator while we're traveling, so we don't have to have the propane on while we're traveling. So I think it was Tuesday evening I plugged the motorhome into the house so it can charge the batteries, and we turned the refrigerator on electric so the refrigerator would be cold. And so Thursday morning, we're loading up the refrigerator and getting ready to leave. We only live about less than an hour from Pocono Racetrack, and I know that the converter charger quote was working. The batteries always, it showed 12.6, 13 volts or whatever. So here it's showing 12.80 volts. So when I turn on the converter charger, we see it's putting out 13.7. It'll actually go up to about 14.27 volts. So when we go camping, we're plugged in at the campground. You're not relying on the batteries. So this particular trip, I had made sure I had two batteries in here, installed the inverter so we could quote boondock without power or having to run the generator just to make coffee or to watch TV in the evening. So here, as you can see, I have a battery load tester, and it's showing just under 13 volts. Now that's just the battery voltage. So here's what happened. We go up to the racetrack, we get settled into the camping area and getting the motorhome set up. I turn the inverter on so when we're settled down so we could watch TV. Things were going good. We watched TV for a couple hours, went to bed, get up in the morning, and go to make coffee. Now, I ran the Romex from the inverter, that orange, that's 10.2 Romex, and I ran it back to the the corner in the motorhome where you plug in the cord so you can run the generator. So I have it plugged in there, so in essence the inverter can power the motorhome, of course with the exception of the air conditioning, but the microwave, the TV, the DVD player, the coffee maker. So I had my cup of coffee. A little while later my wife has her cup. I'm going to have my second cup of coffee, and I hear this beeping coming out from under the cabinet and the inverter. So it's beeping because of low volts. So I happen to have my meter with me, so I checked the battery voltage. It was down to 11.20 volts, dead. So I thought, well, that's strange. I had the motorhome plugged in for several days, and I never bothered to check the actual voltage. I mean, it had always been fine. And here's a chart that I had copied down off the internet. So 12.6 volts and over is fully charged battery, 100%. So some of the people say that, don't let them go below 80%, 50%, 40%. So don't ruin your batteries by constantly having them discharged to a very low state. So I start the generator and I turn on the battery charger here at the breaker panel, because when you're using the inverter, I shut the charger off so you're not trying to run the charger. The battery charger is trying to recharge the battery that you're taking power from. So I turn on the breaker. And now we're seeing the 1374. But that Friday morning, it barely went over 11.5. And yeah, I know the batteries are dead, but the whole weekend, the batteries just never got a charge. It would come up to maybe 12.5 volts. I mean, we managed to watch some TV without the generator running, but ultimately we ran the generator way more than I anticipated. So when I got home, we put my battery charger from the shop, just a typical, this actually is a manual charger, 2 amps, 10 amps, or 50 amp engine start. So I put it on 10 amps for a while and then bumped it down to 2 amps. And I let it go for a little bit. I checked the voltage. It was reading 13.2. So I said, good, batteries are charged. So I want to see what the heck's going on. So at about 4:30, whatever day it was, I had turned on the inverter and I put the refrigerator to electric and I had the TV on. And I came back in 3 hours and checked the battery voltage, and it was down to into the 11s. And it's like, what the heck is going on? So based on what I can see, the charger is putting out the volts. It appeared that the batteries were taking it, and with my load tester, I would test the load and it would stay in the green, because these are 750 cold cranking amps. So it certainly was passing the load test, but they were continually showing decent volts, but not lasting long. The battery charge would just drop. So I invested in a hydrometer, which is you check the specific gravity of the battery, the acid in the batteries. Now, of course, you got to be careful because it is battery acid, so take your safety precautions. But the red, it says recharge. The white is good. It is that 1250 and then 12.27. That is a fully charged battery. So each cell should be in the green there at the 12.75. Mine was just under the 1150 each cell. So it's like, how can it be dead according to the hydrometer, but the battery charger is showing that it's taken 14.27 volts. The battery's reading 13 something. So I just, for basically 2 days, I put the battery charger on 2 amps and just let it run. And then I shut the charger off before bed. And the next morning I came out because the battery needs to rest to get a proper reading. And sure enough, each of the cells were down into the 12 point or 1.275 range. So I don't think it's a connection problem. I checked the connections. I believe my converter charger has failed because it is the original one to the RV. It is a 2001. So I need to buy a new, I guess a smart charger with the 3-stage charge capacity, where the 14 point something volts for the bulk when the batteries are dead. Then as it senses the battery charge is coming up, it drops the charge down to like 13.6, and then it goes to, I think, 13.2, and it senses when the batteries are fully charged. It actually shuts off, and it's a maintainer at that point. So all that work, and I had an issue that I didn't even know about. But when you're going to the campground, you're plugged in, you have no idea if your battery is getting fully charged. And this RV, it is set up, I guess most motorhomes are, and travel trailers can be set up as you're driving. The 12 volts from the engine alternator gets passed through, and you are charging your house battery as you drive. So yes, that was working. I can see that when the engine was running, I had the 14.5 volts going to the batteries. But the bottom line is my converter charger, was not putting out the proper charge to keep the batteries charged. Just wanted to share that with everybody. Thank you.